This man comes home to find his house in shambles and his wife missing. Soon after, he gets a call from a mysterious man offering him a bag full of cash in exchange for his wife. Will he take the money or go after the people who took his wife? Dong Chul works at a fishery port with his friend Chun Sik, delivering seafood every morning. He's kind, always smiling, even when life's tough. Chun Sik grumbles about not getting paid for last month's delivery. Dong Chul just shrugs, says it's fine, and bows politely to their boss. That's the kind of man he is, too kind for his own good. One day, Dong Chul meets an old friend who introduces him to a new business, Harry Crabs. The deal sounds good, quick profits in 3 to 6 months. But Dong Chul hesitates. He's been scammed numerous times before. He trusts too easily. Still, the broker shows him the live crabs, explains every detail, and this time, it feels different. Dong Chul makes a choice. He takes all his savings, and even borrows money from the bank. 100 million won for 5,000 crabs. He believes this is it. His breakthrough. Meanwhile, his wife Ji Soo works multiple jobs just to keep them afloat as they owe multiple bank loans. That night, Dong Chul picks her up from work. In the car, he mentions the crab business. She forces a tired smile, says she just wants him to live quietly. Every time he trusts someone, he ends up losing everything. While Dong Chul dreams of a better future, somewhere else, a group of thugs breaks into an apartment. The leader is Ji Tae, cold, cruel. His men beat up a debtor who begs for his life. Ji Tae laughs in his face, tells him to kill himself. At least the insurance money might be useful. Just then, the man's daughter walks in, young and beautiful. Ji Tae smirks and orders his man to take the girl as payment. On the way home, something unexpected happens. Ji Tae's car accidentally collides with Dong Chul's. Dong Chul steps out to check the damage. Ji Tae stays inside the car while his driver hands Dong Chul a business card. The driver says the insurance will cover everything, but Dong Chul insists on filing a police report. The driver becomes impatient and pulls out a thick wad of cash. He tells Dong Chul they're in a rush and tries to settle it with money. When Dong Chul refuses, the driver throws the money at him. Ji Soo watches from the side and becomes furious. She scolds the driver for being rude and says they're calling the police. That's when Ji Tae suddenly steps out of the car. He walks over and, to everyone's surprise, starts hitting his own driver. He apologizes to Dong Chul and Ji Soo. But it's all fake. Ji Tae is only pretending to be polite because there's something he's hiding, the kidnapped girl in the back seat. Dong Chul and Ji Soo feel something is strange, so they choose to walk away. As Ji Soo walks away, Ji Tae's gaze clings to her, drawn to her beauty. The next day, Dong Chul goes to the fishery port to collect his salary. The owner tries to avoid him and makes excuses. After several pleas, he finally hands over a small amount of cash. It's not nearly enough. Later, Dong Chul meets Chun Sik at a convenience store. They sit and chat, and that's when they hear bad news. The crab shipment is delayed. The ship is being held at a Chinese port. Dong Chul and Chun Sik look worried. Could they have been scammed again? That evening, Dong Chul wants to do something special for Ji Soo. He takes her to a fancy restaurant for her birthday. He even orders King Crab to surprise her and to slowly break the news about the investment. But during dinner, Ji Soo suddenly asks, "Should we get a divorce?" She explains that she met a lawyer earlier that day. The bank will soon start seizing their home and assets. If they divorce now, they might be able to protect what little they have left. Dong Chul is shocked and tells her not to worry. Then, he tells her about the King Crab investment and the 100 million won bank loan. Ji Soo is stunned. Another risky investment? She yells at him in frustration. Dong Chul tries to calm her down. He goes behind to take out a cake and a present to surprise her. But when he returns, Ji Soo is gone. She left the restaurant. Ji Soo arrives home alone and guilt sets in. She texts Dong Chul, "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have left like that." Dong Chul reads the message and his face softens, and he rushes home. But on his way back, something strange happens. 2 cars suddenly block the road. Meanwhile, at home, the doorbell rings. Ji Soo checks the peephole. A strange man in a raincoat stands outside. She freezes. The man breaks in, and Ji Soo runs to the bedroom. But another man comes from the balcony. Her scream is muffled. Everything goes black. Ji Tae has taken her. The traffic finally clears, but this holdup was planned to stall him on purpose. When Dong Chul finally gets home, he sees the house in chaos. Everything is a mess. Ji Soo is gone. He panics and runs to the police station. The officers check the CCTV footage, but the camera was disabled just before the break-in. The rain makes everything blurry. They can't even read the car's license plate. Dong Chul is left with nothing but fear and no idea where his wife is. Later, Dong Chul receives a call from an unknown number. On the other end is Ji-tae. He casually and arrogantly tells Dong Chul that he has kidnapped his wife. He says he left a business card on the fridge and tells him to come alone to the location written on it. Dong Chul rushes over. The address leads him to a quiet eel restaurant. But Ji-tae is nowhere to be seen. Instead, there's only a bag and a phone lying around. The mysterious phone rings. It's Ji-tae again. He tells Dong Chul to open the bag. Inside is a bag filled with cash. Ji-tae's voice is calm and cruel. He tells Dong Chul that the money is payment for Ji-soo and that she won't be coming back. Then he says, everyone acts righteous at first, but in the end, they all take the money. Dong Chul is frozen in shock. He takes the bag of cash and heads straight to the police. The officers are confused, and the whole story sounds bizarre. But the chief listens carefully and finally says it might be a case of human trafficking. He tells Dong Chul they need to keep the cash as evidence and will try to lift fingerprints from the items. Days pass, and Dong Chul keeps returning to the station, begging for updates. But the police only tell him to wait and be patient. At the station, he sees reports on the bulletin board about numerous other missing women in the city. Dong Chul makes up his mind to take matters into his own hands. He asks Chun Sik to help him contact a private detective. Chun Sik warns him, it won't be cheap. Desperate, Dong Chul storms into the fishery port and demands the money he's owed. The owner refuses and even orders his men to throw him out. But Dong Chul is no ordinary man. In a burst of strength, he takes down the thugs with ease. Everyone is shocked by how skilled he is. The owner, frightened, finally hands him the money. With the cash, Dong Chul and Chun Sik meet the detective, an odd man named Gom. Gom comes up with all kinds of strange theories about Ji-soo's disappearance, making Dong Chul lose patience. He's about to leave when Chun Sik stops him and says, he might be weird, but he's the best at what he does. Dong Chul gives Gom a deadline. Find Ji-soo by tomorrow. Gom gets to work immediately. He tracks down the license plate of the car seen dropping the bag at the eel restaurant. Posing as a detective, he accesses the ledgers and finds the name tied to the vehicle. Dong Chul, Chun Sik, and Gom go to meet the man. But when they find him, he reveals the truth. He was just a pawn. Someone paid him 5 million won to register the car under his name. Drowning in debt, he agreed. He gives them the address of the place where the deal was made. The trio heads to a rundown parking lot. They're led to a shady underground gambling den. Inside, they ask to speak with the manager. When they request the ledger, the manager becomes suspicious. She thinks they're cops and orders her men to attack. Gom confidently says, I'll handle this, but he's quickly overpowered. Dong Chul steps in. With powerful blows, he takes down the gang members one by one. The manager, terrified, finally gives in. She hands over a business card, the only thing the man left behind after making the deal. Dong Chul takes it. Another step closer to finding Ji-soo. Dong Chul arrives at the nightclub. But when he asks around, he learns that the business card is outdated. The club has changed owners. Feeling disappointed, Dong Chul starts to leave. Just then, he notices a car nearby carrying several young women. Suddenly, his heart races. It is the same car and driver that caused the traffic jam the other night. Dong Chul quickly approaches the man, but the driver, feeling guilty, speeds away upon seeing him. Shortly after, Dong Chul's phone rings. It's the police. They have found the body of a deceased woman who matches Ji-soo's description. His heart pounds as they pass him the photos. To his relief, it is not Ji-soo. Curious and alarmed, Dong Chul, Chun Sik, and Gom begin to investigate further. They learn that the woman had already been missing for 2 years and she was already in a coma before being kidnapped. Her husband had gone to the police and confessed everything. When they meet the husband, they hear a shocking story. He used to care deeply for his wife, even appearing on a TV program to raise funds for her treatment. But when Ji-tae saw the broadcast, he offered the husband a large sum of money to give up his wife. Desperate, the man accepted the deal. Ji-tae's willingness to make such a trade reveals that he is involved in organ trafficking. The husband now regrets his decision deeply. Before Dong Chul leaves, the man gives him a thick file filled with documents about Ji-tae's syndicate. Moments later, the man jumps down, falling onto a car beside them. Dong Chul opens the files and studies them carefully. Inside, he finds a name card for Daesung Financial. It is the same card the man gave him when he crashed into Dong Chul's car days ago. Determined to get answers, Dong Chul goes to meet the man linked to Daesung Financial. At first, the man does not recognize him. But after Dong Chul presses harder, using force, the man admits he remembers him. Still, he pretends to know nothing more. Dong Chul takes the man back to Gam's office for further questioning. They rough him up and hang him on a hammock, but the man refuses to reveal any information. Suddenly, Ji-tae calls the man. On video, Ji-tae tells Dong Chul to kill the man, otherwise he will keep torturing his wife. Ji-tae pushes Ji-su's head into the water, choking her. Desperate and with no other choice, Dong Chul grabs a rope and strangles the man until he collapses unconscious. Breathing heavily, Dong Chul demands that Ji-tae release his wife. Ji-tae coldly replies that he will only free her if Dong Chul returns the money he gave. Then, he hangs up. Gam panics, thinking that the man is dead. But Dong Chul only made the man pass out by pressing on his carotid arteries. To wake him up, Dong Chul slaps him hard across the face. The man jolts awake. Finally, he begins to talk. He reveals the terrifying truth behind Ji-tae's syndicate. The organization kidnaps women and sells them off to wealthy men overseas or forces them into prostitution. The victims are often the daughters or wives of debtors, or sometimes, just random women that the gang finds attractive. The man describes Ji-tae as a lunatic, someone obsessed with money who has absolutely no regard for human lives. But because Ji-tae always pays off the victims' families, no one dares to raise questions or search for them. Dong Chul, he says, is the first person who has ever been this persistent. Determined to save Ji-su, Dong Chul decides to retrieve the money that he handed over to the police as evidence. But he knows they won't give it back willingly. They must steal it. The trio comes up with a plan. Gam and Chun-sik disguise themselves as prosecutors from the central office in Seoul. They walk into the police station confidently and request access to the evidence from Ji-su's case. The officer on duty seems convinced at first, but insists on notifying the lead detective as a matter of protocol. When he calls the detective, he's told that the case hasn't been handed over to the prosecution yet. Realizing something is wrong, the officer immediately becomes suspicious. He detains the two men and decides to wait for the detective to arrive. Dong Chul is sitting outside in the car, listening in on their conversation. Knowing they're about to get caught, he quickly takes action. He sneaks over and sets fire to one of the police cars in the parking lot, causing chaos. In the confusion, the trio escapes the station, money in hand. Elsewhere, at the kidnappers' hideout, another drama is unfolding. One of the gang members attempts to assault the debtor's daughter who they took hostage. Her name is So-yun. Ji-su steps in bravely, striking the man. She and So-yun try to escape together, but they're quickly caught and So-yun is beaten up. When Ji-tae finds out, he is furious, not because of the escape attempt, but because the injured So-yun is now too damaged to be sold. Enraged that his product has lost value, he grabs a baseball bat and beats his assistant mercilessly. Just then, Ji-tae receives a call. Dong Chul tells him that he has recovered the money. Ji-tae, hiding his true intentions, tells him to come to the hideout so they can make the exchange. But in reality, Ji-tae plans to kill both Dong Chul and Ji-su as soon as he gets his money back. Ji-su is overwhelmed with relief when So-yun finally regains consciousness. As she surveys their surroundings, she notices a window in the building, an opportunity for escape. With quiet determination, she begins to pry out the nails securing the metal grill. Using all their strength, Ji-su and So-yun manage to loosen the bars enough to create a small gap. Ji-su squeezes through the opening, but just as she's about to help So-yun, one of the kidnappers bursts into the room. With no time left, Ji-su leaps from the window onto a neighboring rooftop, then dashes out to the main road and flags down a passing taxi. She tells the driver to take her straight to the police station. Back at the hideout, Ji-tae realizes that Ji-su has escaped and rushes after her. Just as she's approaching the police station, Ji-su decides to run the remaining distance to safety. But Ji-tae catches up, grabs her, and pulls her back into his van. Her moment of freedom is gone, she's back in captivity. The trio arrive at the hideout for the exchange. But the gates are locked, and Dong Chul, running out of patience, decides to take matters into his own hands. He rams his car straight through the gate and storms the building. Dozens of thugs try to block his way, but Dong Chul fights through them with relentless strength and skill. Though he's vastly outnumbered, he knocks down every single one with ease. Meanwhile, other members of the syndicate prepare to move the girls to another location. Chun-sik and Gam spot them loading the van and quickly search for Ji-su, but she is nowhere to be found. Soon, the police arrive and apprehend the rest of the criminals. They're stunned to see the damage. Dong Chul had single-handedly taken down an entire gang. Dong Chul sees the broken window and knows his wife escaped. Determined to find his wife, Dong Chul drives off and eventually comes face to face with Ji-tae. Just then, Ji-tae receives a warning call from his man about the police raid and tells him to reverse the car and flee. Dong Chul chases after them in a high-speed pursuit. After a tense and winding chase, he finally catches up, only to see Ji-soo in the back seat, held hostage. Ji-tae uses her as a human shield, threatening Dong Chul to back off. The chase ends in a dramatic collision. Dong Chul's car crashes and tumbles down a hill. Ji-tae grabs an axe and approaches the wreckage, intending to finish Dong Chul off. But Dong Chul sees him coming, hides, and at the right moment, grabs Ji-tae and lands a flurry of powerful punches. Ji-tae, ever manipulative, starts to beg for forgiveness and pretends to surrender. He even threatens to take his own life, but Dong Chul is unmoved. When Ji-tae suddenly lunges with a hidden knife, Dong Chul quickly counters and knocks him out cold. Dong Chul rushes to the van, and finally sees Ji-soo. They fall into each other's arms, hugging tightly, relieved, and thankful that they are both alive. In the aftermath, the story of Ji-tae's criminal enterprise makes headlines across the country. Dong Chul is hailed as a national hero for exposing the syndicate and rescuing the girls. As luck would have it, the long-delayed king crab shipment finally arrives. Dong Chul opens a king crab restaurant and takes her there for a celebratory feast.